Okay, what's up, guys? So, hopefully, this little video that I just hopefully added successfully to this little video. I basically think I have, honed in on kind of a uh, general guide to what YE Company wants to really focus in on, guys. So, one of the things that, I've been doing and God's been putting on my heart is to not only, start a ministry where, you're just straight talking and, telling people about God or Jesus, but also a business or a witness ministry, guys. So, the good things about kind of a witness ministry is sort of an indirect way of one introducing people to the Christian faith and Jesus Christ, but also an indirect way of, shining the light of the Bible in various ways. And that's kind of the in general overall goal for YE Company and Ministries, guys. This is the startup that I'm trying to really put together, guys, to build for my career or just my ministry or my work for the Lord, so to speak, any way you want to put it, kind of. And so that's the overall goal. But I also see an advantage, guys, of in this world of why we don't always, you know, cast our pearls before swine, so to speak. There is a way of evangelizing, guys, that it could probably be broken down into a whole college segment or even a major to really major in evangelism at a Bible college, just because I do think there is a way to share the gospel that's either better or worse, than others. And so my plan that I was really trying to, implement with YE Company, that I feel that God is also pleased with, is, sort of a indirect way of introducing people to the Christian faith, guys. And so, I've taken examples from maybe Chick-fil-A or In and Out, and I think they have a good model because especially companies like Chick-fil-A, where in general, everyone should at least have some knowledge of it is connected to the Christian faith. But I'm sure there's plenty of people who may not necessarily believe that, or know that Chick-fil-A is sort of associated with even a Christian CEO, really, or a Christian foundation. And so I do want to at least uh you know um do something a little bit different than Chick-fil-A. I do think companies like Chick-fil-A are doing a great job, but I do think there is a segment where we need to be a mix between, you know, something like a total Christian company where you're, only catering to those of the Christian faith, and find a balance between, that and evangelism, where you're trying to reach those that are, outside of the Christian faith. Just because, guys, we do not know, from a human standpoint, of how many souls are left to be saved, guys. Um, even though maybe we can have an impression on our heart, or, we can feel that God is, telling us something about the state of the world or something like that. Noah, he still was mandated in a way to preach all the way up until, the time of the flood, guys. The Bible does give indication that Noah, even after he knew the world was going to be destroyed, um, on some level, did not fully. The story seems to indicate that Noah did not fully have an understanding that only 8 people would be saved, guys. Like, especially when the scriptures sort of are implying that he preached, to the community and the world around him. And I think even in these last days, guys, we should still be doing the same, guys, because I've heard some good information from different pastors where Jesus is really teaching us to do business until he comes, meaning keep up our Christian witness and our Christian work and our evangelism and just our productivity in life and our work in life all the way up until he returns, guys. And so I do think this is important, especially, guys, if you do some research on some people online that I don't know how true it is or not, but there are people who are um, sort of radical rapture people, so to speak, where they're like, apparently even online videos, they're sort of quitting their jobs, and they're sort of like have this strong impression that the rapture is within days or hours or something like that. So they do all these extreme kind of things. Now, I was told about this, but I did actually see video evidence of this, guys. And so I definitely know that even personally we can sometimes get into this mindset where we're not necessarily doing all that we can do to keep up, working for Jesus Christ. I'm inspired by people like Ken Ham, who I think has an awesome ministry, and I've been trying to create like a big ministry too. I do think God, wants us to reach for the stars, and I don't know how much of the plan of YE will ever come to pass, aside from maybe the Holy Spirit or God putting an impression on my heart or saying to me, hey, this is going to work out or something like that. But even then, you can sometimes not hear God correctly or something. I don't know. But anyway, so I wanted to do kind of a little explainer, after the little AI video. And basically, I don't want to make this a super long video either, because sometimes it takes a longer time for these videos to upload if it's a super long video, which is fine, but still, longer videos are hard to watch, and I don't have, millions of subscribers. So, this video is really, for me as well to record kind of the plans that I'm trying to, do, even though, other people may watch this later. Though that's what I've learned about YouTube is, even though you may not get views for a few days or weeks or something, there is a good chance that you can still grow your channel later, or people may watch your videos later. And so it's still good, if you are interested in being a YouTuber, is to still make videos even though you may have a low view count. And guys, I know some of the reasons why I may have a low view count, guys. Because of maybe the professionalism that is coming across in this video, guys, the video quality itself. There's different things that, I do plan on improving, guys. I do, though, kind of do these kind of open, no script videos, though. I have in the past tried to do scripted videos and different things like that, but it's a little bit taxing for me, so I don't think it's worth it. But anyway, to the main point of this video, I had a revelation, especially, from my personal experiences too, of just how, I made a video on this, on the mini ecosystem, that I kind of want to be a part of building. I know there's others that are already doing this as well, guys, but I do think it can use more hands in the game, so to speak, to really help this grow, of serving the lower class or the lower middle class, and bridging that gap, between kind of the lower working class and their quality of life, guys. And that's in general what I wanted to say, in this video. But let me explain that a little bit more, I guess, because I do think there needs to be way more, bridging between, some of the things that are available for those that have a lower income, guys. Now, this is different a little bit, even though YE Company, I do want to be a part of helping, the very impoverished, or, the complete homeless, or, one that, does not have a working income or anything like that. I do want to be a part of helping them too, but I do also see this need here for those that are, they do have somewhat of a working capital, but yet there may not be a lot of products or services that they have access to that would improve their life, even though the products and services that are affordable do exist, guys. But some of the infrastructure is what I've noticed still needs to be implemented and connected and put in place, especially with the invention of AI, guys. If you do some online research, especially here on YouTube, guys, you will see a trend of how things, even though a lot of people are saying are becoming more expensive, there is a trend of things also becoming more readily available, guys. And the way that we manufacture and build products are becoming more efficient, guys. And so, even if YE Company doesn't do this, especially in the Seattle, Washington area, I do think with the invention of AI and new technologies in general, eventually there, I believe, will be a better bridging of the gap between the lower class and the lower middle class, or the tier right above that, if you want to look at us through that social kind of class lens, which I don't think is always good either. But I think it helps to kind of convey what, message I'm trying to give here, is, things like, an affordable car. I do want to be a part of that, guys, even though it's a huge undertaking. But what I've seen, guys, it is possible. There are little small, people that, especially like, when talking about motorcycles or something, there's a lot of little one-off little, or maybe not one-off is the word, but smaller little manufacturers of motorcycles that, are probably in your local area, especially here in the USA, that you may not even know about. I was just walking down the street, in Seattle, and I just happened to walk by this retail store, and it was like a motorcycle builder, like a custom motorcycle builder. And people do that even with cars, guys. There are, now in the United States, it's a little bit different, but still, in the world, you still have these kind of lower brand cars, that people are able to purchase. And I do think in the United States, there is a barrier between, these lesser affordable cars that they may have access to in other parts of the world. But even in their parts of the world, maybe their lower class can't even afford those type of cars. But also bridging that between the United States, guys, where even the lower class can afford those cars that are kind of this lower tier car, but still a good quality, can get you to A and B decently, with dignity as well. Um, you know, uh, in the United States, we don't necessarily have access to those cars, even though we do have a lower class that may have access to the money to buy those cars. And so I know that may have sound confusing, but anyway, I do think I realize also why that may be in the United States, because the United States also has a higher, I believe, standard of building and invention and, regulation of different things, guys. And so, especially when it comes to housing or cars, guys, those things are a little bit more serious, especially in regards to the industry here in the United States, because you know of the sheer amount of car accidents. And when you look around the world, at the countries who may not, at least from outsiders looking in, and some of the reports that you hear, a lot of these countries in different parts of the world do not have the same regulations or building codes, so to speak, as the United States tries to uphold. Now, obviously, not every construction company here in the United States is building up the code all the time, right? We're still human beings, but still, um, when you see different infrastructure in kind of these different world countries that, are collapsing very easily, now obviously, earthquakes happen and they're different in different parts of the area. But I mean, outside of even natural disasters, just the quality of some of these homes are not, definitely not built up to the standard as other countries are, including the United States. I do think there are still other countries. Obviously, I think the United States can be one of those countries where we as citizens kind of, think of ourselves better than others, and so we don't want to, take that mindset either. But still, the point is, I do think that YE Company can do a lot of good and also be very profitable for both the community and for community leaders in regards to bridging this gap between the working lower class. And I do think the infrastructure is being set up more and more each day as we advance in different areas. Um, that we just need a company, a people rallying around this idea of, okay, let's try to better our economy by fixing these little areas that need to be fixed. Now, obviously, guys, again, this is a Christian channel, guys. I do focus a little bit more on, you know, I guess the ministry aspect sometimes rather than just a business aspect. And so I will say that, just, we, uh, as people need to really be thinking about, how we can, bridge these gaps. And I think I forgot what I was about to say, guys. Sometimes when I go off on a tangent, I forget what I was just, about to say. But anyway, um, one of those ways is through quality but affordable products and services, and I think there's a few, entry points into the market that I want to focus in on as a startup company, guys. Obviously, some of these things are going to take, time to really, come to pass, guys. As far as, these things and these, bridging of the gap, may not happen in, a year or 5 years. But, a lot can be done in that time, especially with how technology is advancing, guys, where, you know, um, we are building faster, guys. We are making products and services faster and easier and, more available to people just by the, modern age that we live in. And so, some of the entry points that I think are important to bridge the gap is in the transportation industry. I think transportation is huge because we are so spread out as a society. There's a lot of people that, they may not live right next to a grocery store, and if they don't have a car, but yet they have the money to, buy groceries, there still needs to be a gap that's filled there in regards to a more convenient way to get to the grocery store. Now, I think there are companies that are working on this, as far as like, huge companies like Tesla and their robo taxi, or just autonomous vehicles and autonomous taxis, guys. Those are meant to kind of lower the cost of getting a taxi, guys, by reducing labor and different things like that. But I do think that there are some downsides or things that aren't going to fully work with just getting more robo fleets out there, and especially for the community that does not readily right now feel comfortable just getting into a robot car, so to speak. A lot of people still feel comfortable driving themselves or taking a reliable human powered option, until I think AI really solves, some of these problems, and people get educated on the safety of autonomous vehicles and as they increase in safety, but transportation is one of them. And then housing, guys. So I don't know if you've noticed this, but this is becoming more and more of a thing. Uh, really coming from the tiny house boom that I think started years ago. Back in like maybe 2010 or so. I when I first started to notice this. Now, obviously, guys, some of this stuff is happening, in different parts of the world where we may not even have knowledge of it until we kind of grow older, or we start to read or research more, and we're like, oh wow, I didn't even know that was existed or an option or something. And so what I'm trying to say though, especially if you look on Amazon, guys, there's a lot of these, um, I think built in other countries, but there's a lot of these kind of like affordable home options, even though they do take installation and setup, which really kind of helps me in bridging the gap here, because a lot of this stuff, I do see the infrastructure already there. It's just, taking that, product or services and implementing them in a right way, especially for me in the Seattle area. I know a lot of people are already doing this. I know there's been some tiny home communities in the Seattle area, guys. Um, but the thing about these tiny home communities, guys, is that it's mostly catered to the homeless, guys. And I do want to address, the homeless problem, guys. But what I've seen that is actually feeding the homeless problem, guys, is the lack of resources of the working class or the financially okay class, where they have some amount of income, but yet there is no infrastructure there to support them at their income level, guys, which is also aiding to the homeless factor. When I've noticed, guys, that there are a lot of people that are in a homeless situation that just need the infrastructure there to have lower cost independent housing, um, that is of a higher quality than some of the things that have been out there. And then also making it not completely free, because again, these are catering these the YE company, and its main mission, I think, is to cater to the working lower class, or the class that has a low amount of income, the low income class. And so a lot of homes and affordable housing is starting to come around to this, guys. But still, I do think there needs to be more startup companies like YE company that are focused on this main problem. And so that's why I wanted to kind of shift, kind of the mission of YE Company. I think I had more of a revelation of what kind of the mission of YE company should be, instead of just building a brand that, kind of has a Christian spin to it, where, you're just kind of, putting out products and services and stamping the Christian name on it. I do think a better mission for YE company and ministries is to cater to this other community. And so that's what's been put on my heart lately. So the transportation community, the housing community, especially, for those that, need something, uh, you know, especially not even talking about the homeless and only, guys, or those that are facing, poverty in the United States in that level, but even for, the 18 to 25 to 35-year olds, guys, who are transitioning from living under their parents' house. I do think, for even that kind of class, that um, lower income class in society, where it's not because they are necessarily mismanaging money or something, in that way, of the same way of maybe someone who is facing homelessness, which is, dealing with a compounding amount of issues, which is like, their mental health or their physical health, or, uh, different things that they may be going through, that, they're struggling with. Well, that's different from the 18 to 25 to 35-year-old community, who, may not necessarily have major mental health issues, or they may not have major physical health issues, and they may have a full-time, part-time job, where, or a student, and they may be a student, but they have some source of income. And, there still needs to be an infrastructure to deal with what we call the millennial stage, those that are, transitioning from teenage years into young adult years. And I do think our society, especially in here in the United States, needs to build that bridge infrastructure for those groups of people as well. And so, again, addressing the transportation issue, not only with what I'm calling Chariot, which is YE's version of an affordable kind of mini EV. I do think in the greater scheme plan of YE is trying to help just even the public transportation infrastructure here in Seattle, Washington, joining in with, companies that are doing the robo taxi thing. I do think they're, which is going to take more thought as well, but more planning is, there needs to be a gap between the public transportation system, guys, and more options for transportation in for the public transit community. So, there are some downsides, guys, to taking the bus. Not only in just, maybe the quality of experience that you're having with the bus, but just the level of connection that the bus is making to final destinations, and also, you know, uh, the availability of transportation, especially in, surrounding areas of the city, and, kind of external areas as well. And just the option of where you can go in regards to transportation, and uh, specifically public transportation, where you're catering to, not necessarily the single individual that wants to buy a car, but a community of individuals that wants to share a cost in, public transit. And so, I do want to do more explainer individual videos to kind of brainstorm these individual concepts. But in regards to, products and services that YE company can do, or wants to pursue in this startup, dream and reality. Um, and this process of serving God and being pleasing to God and ministering like Jesus ministered, but also doing business and in light of all that, I do want to do more in-depth video, but this is already getting to a 30-minute video, guys. And so, through transportation, do public transit, but then, there's a few other areas that I think can be, definitely, um, refined so that we can have better um, availability of products and services to every American that is especially able and willing to you know uh, take care of themselves, and they just may need more affordable pricing options that don't um, sacrifice on quality or really the dignity of being a human being. And so and the dignity of being a human being that wants to take care of themselves, and to uh take care of not only themselves but their neighbor, to care about the community and our society. And so I don't want to get too judgmental on, poor and homeless guys, because it is a complicated kind of issue. But I will say that in my opinion, there are some individuals that just need um, that extra option affordability to come out of maybe a poor state of living that they're in, just because they may have enough money to really take care of themselves, but they just don't have a lot of housing or transportation options that could make life more convenient and fulfilling for them. And so, thank you so much for watching this video, guys. Hey, hit the like and subscribe button. You can see what progress I'm making, or we are making, as this startup continues, this ministry continues. And so, guys, I'm looking for support. I'm looking for just partnership and just people who want to support the endeavors of this ministry and business. Guys, I have a main channel called YE Church Online. And so one of the ways that I was thinking of entering the business entrepreneurship world and also the ministry world was opening a cafe. So that was going to be my kind of introduction to the market, so to speak. Kind of having an entry point to introduce YE Company to the public. I do think that might be a good way to go. Now, another way to go is to start off with one product, and um, really try to build and sell that as a brand and enter the market that way. But, I am interested in, products that, align with the mission of YE, but, um, you know, um, God willing, we'll refine, some of the entry points and the ways to move forward. And so thanks so much, guys. Hit the like and subscribe button. My name is Ben. Thank you for watching this video up to this point, and I'll talk to you next time. See ya.